If you love games where you explore huge maps, find cool upgrades, unlock new paths, and get that awesome feeling of uncovering secrets, then you know what a Metroidvania is. It's one of the best game styles out there. Today, we're talking about the big ones. We're diving into the 20 best Metroidvania games of all time. These are the true legends of the genre. Let's check them out. Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Right from the get-go, this game kinda messes with your feelings. It picks up right after the first game, and you've got Ori, this adorable little spirit, looking after a baby owl named Ku. But then, things go wrong, they get separated, and Ori's gotta go on this huge adventure to find Ku and try to fix a world that's all broken. It's such a touching story, and the way they show it, with that gorgeous, almost hand-painted art, and the music that just sweeps you away, it really makes you feel every little bit of it. Now, as a Metroidvania, Ori and the Will of the Wisps absolutely nails it. You're exploring this giant, interconnected world that's just bursting with secrets. You'll be running, jumping, gliding, and climbing through all sorts of crazy places. And the cool part is, as you grab new abilities, like a better jump, or a quick dash, or a way to swing around, you can go back to areas you've already been to and find new paths or secret spots you couldn't get to before. That feeling when you unlock a new move and suddenly the whole world opens up in a different way, that's what Metroidvanias are all about. And Ori does it like nobody's business. They also really beefed up the combat in this one. In the first Ori game, fighting wasn't a huge deal, but in Will of the Wisps, Ori gets all sorts of weapons and skills, like a spirit sword, a big hammer, or a bow. You'll be flying around the screen, dodging attacks, and chaining moves together in these really smooth fights. Plus, they actually added proper boss battles this time, and man, they are epic. But don't worry, all that amazing jumping and platforming that made the first game so special is still right there, front and center. Stringing together jumps, dashes, and other moves to get past wild obstacles just feels incredibly fluid. Hollow Knight. This game is straight up awesome. I mean, it's one of those Metroidvanias that just pulls you in and makes it hard to stop playing. You're this little bug guy in a big, dark world called Hallownest, and you're just exploring caves, fighting creepy enemies, and trying to figure out what's going on. The controls feel super smooth, like you can dash, jump, and swing your nail, that's your weapon, without any lag or weird hiccups. It just feels right. One of the best parts about Hollow Knight is how it doesn't just tell you everything. You gotta figure things out yourself. The story is low-key and kinda hidden behind cryptic conversations and little hints scattered around. It's not like other games that spoon-feed you the plot. You get to piece it together, which makes you feel like a real detective exploring a forgotten kingdom. It's cool because you start to care about the place and its strange characters without anyone beating you over the head with the story. Also, the bosses in this game, they're tough, but fair. Some of them will definitely make you throw your controller once or twice, but when you finally beat them, it feels so good, like you earned it. And each boss fight is different. Some are super fast, some are more about timing, and some just mess with your head a little. The variety keeps you on your toes the whole time. Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night. So you play as Miriam, a woman who's been cursed and now has these cool powers because of it. The story starts kinda dark. She's trapped in this giant castle full of monsters and demons, and you've got to explore it to figure out what's going on and stop the bad stuff. The setting feels a lot like classic Castlevania games, which makes sense because the guy behind Bloodstained is Koji Igarashi, who worked on a bunch of those. What I really dig about this game is how deep the gameplay is. It's not just running around and hitting things. You get all these weapons and spells, plus a huge variety of upgrades to customize how you fight. You can mix and match abilities to find your own style, whether that's going in all guns blazing or playing it more sneaky and careful. Plus, there's crafting and collecting shards from enemies that give you even more powers, which makes the whole thing feel fresh even after many hours. The castle itself is huge, with tons of different areas that all look cool and have their own vibe. You'll find secret rooms, hidden bosses, and tons of stuff that makes you want to keep exploring. And just like any good Metroidvania, you'll unlock new moves that let you backtrack and get into places you couldn't reach before. One thing I gotta mention is the boss fights. They're a real highlight. Some are super tough and require learning their patterns, but that feeling when you finally take one down is so satisfying. Plus, Plus, the game keeps throwing new enemies and challenges at you to keep things interesting. Axiom Verge. This one's a real throwback. This game kinda like, it's like a love letter to classic Metroid games, but with its own weird, cool sci-fi spin. You play as Trace, a scientist who wakes up in this strange alien world after an accident. The story's kinda mysterious. You don't get all the answers right away, which keeps things interesting. You're stuck in this huge, creepy world full of weird creatures and crazy tech. It's all about exploring, finding new weapons, and unlocking abilities that help you get to new places. What really stands out about Axiom Verge is how it mixes old school vibes with new ideas. The game's packed with strange gadgets and weapons that feel fresh and fun to use. Plus, the way you find glitches and bugs in the world that become tools is pretty clever. It's like the game itself is kind of broken. But of course, I don't mean the buggy way, but kind of like you are the main guy and making it whole together, which is pretty satisfying. The map is massive and maze-like, which is classic Metroidvania stuff. You'll spend a lot of time backtracking, unlocking shortcuts, and hunting for secrets. The game really rewards you for paying attention and exploring every nook and cranny. The visuals have this retro pixel art style that looks super sharp, and the soundtrack is a moody electronic score that fits the creepy sci-fi world perfectly. It kinda pulls you in and makes the atmosphere really thick. Dead Cells. This game is kinda like a perfect mix of fast action, cool exploration, and just enough challenge to keep you hooked without feeling unfair. You play as this weird blob of a character who wakes up inside a dead body. Yeah, it's a little creepy, but also super cool. The whole game is about running through different levels that change every time you play, fighting tons of enemies, and picking up new weapons and powers. And the way the levels change keeps it fresh. You never quite know what's coming next, which keeps you on your toes. What makes Dead Cells stand out is how smooth and satisfying the combat is. You can slash, dodge, and use all kinds of weapons and magic. There's a ton of options, so you can find a playstyle that suits you, whether that's quick and sneaky or full-on heavy hitting. And because it's got this roguelite vibe, when you die, you lose most of your stuff but keep some progress, so you're always getting a bit better and unlocking new things. The game also has this great sense of flow. When you're on a roll, moving through the levels, taking out enemies one after another, it feels awesome. Plus, the pixel art style is gorgeous, with lots of detail and cool animations that make the whole world feel alive and dangerous. It's not an easy game by any means. You'll die a lot, but that's part of the fun. Each run teaches you something new, and the more you play, the better you get. It's a game that rewards patience and practice, but always keeps you wanting to jump back in and try again. If you like fast-paced, action-packed games with a bit of exploration and a dash of challenge, Dead Cells is definitely worth checking out. It's addictive, fun, and just feels really good to play. Like the kind of game you don't want to stop once you start. Guacamelee 2. So when you're talking about the best Metroidvania games of all time, you absolutely have to throw Guacamelee 2 into the mix. This game isn't just a sequel, it's like they took everything that was awesome about the first one and just cranked it up to 11. If you love a game with super tight platforming, satisfying combat, and a whole lot of personality, you're gonna have a blast with this one. The first thing you notice about Guacamelee 2 is just how vibrant and crazy it looks. It's got this unique art style that feels like a colorful Mexican wrestling poster came to life. And the humor? Oh man, it's everywhere. From goofy jokes to pop culture references, the game never takes itself too seriously, which makes the whole adventure even more fun. You're playing as Juan Aguacate, a luchador hero who's chilling out after saving the world. But then, of course, a new bad guy pops up to mess things up, and Juan has to get back in the ring. And the combat? It's just fantastic. Lon is a luchador, so you're doing all these cool wrestling moves. Suplexes, pile drivers, big powerful punches. You can string together combos, dodge attacks, and then slam enemies around. The game also lets you switch between the dead world and the living world on the fly, which isn't just a cool visual trick, it's often key to solving puzzles and getting past enemies. Plus, you get to turn into a chicken. And believe it or not, chicken form has its own set of abilities and puzzles. It's hilarious and surprisingly useful. Salt and Sanctuary. This game is kind of a wild mix. It takes the super tough, deliberate combat and dark atmosphere of a Souls-like game and then smashes it together with the exploration and interconnected world of a Metroidvania. It sounds like a lot, but it really works, creating something unique and seriously engaging. The first thing you'll notice about Salt and Sanctuary is its look. It's got this hand-drawn, somewhat grim art style that really fits its dark, mysterious world. You play as a shipwrecked sailor on a strange, cursed island, and everything just feels oppressive and dangerous. The story is kinda told in pieces, leaving a lot for you to figure out, which just adds to that whole dark fantasy vibe. Now, let's talk about the gameplay, because this is where it really shines. As a Metroidvania, the world is huge and all connected. You'll be climbing up towers, delving into dungeons, and finding shortcuts that lead back to earlier areas. As you beat tough bosses and gain new abilities, like a special jump or a way to cling to walls, you unlock even more of the map. That classic Metroidvania feeling of slowly uncovering a vast, intricate world is totally here. But with a twist. The Souls-like part comes in with the combat. It's tough, man. Every enemy can hit hard, and you have to be really careful. You're dodging, blocking, parrying, and waiting for your moment to strike. Stamina is key, just like in Dark Souls, so you can't just mash buttons. You'll die a lot, but every death feels like a lesson, pushing you to learn enemy patterns and get better. You'll be upgrading your gear, picking a character class, and finding new weapons and spells to help you survive. The Sanctuaries are like your bonfires, safe spots where you can level up, but they also bring more danger into the world. Honestly, if you're a fan of Dark Souls or Bloodborne, and you also love Metroidvanias, then Salt and Sanctuary is a game you absolutely need to play. It's challenging, it's dark, and it's incredibly rewarding when you finally overcome a tough boss or unlock a new area. It's a truly unique blend that offers hundreds of hours of exploration and intense combat. It's a journey into a bleak world, but one that's incredibly well designed and deeply satisfying. Shovel Knight: Plague of Shadows. The big deal here is that you're not playing as the noble Shovel Knight anymore. Nope. This time, you're stepping into the boots of Plague Knight, who's this quirky, bomb-throwing alchemist. And man, his playstyle is just wildly different from Shovel Knight's. Instead of shoveling bad guys, you're mixing up different kinds of bombs, lobbing them at enemies, and using explosive jumps to blast your way across levels. It totally flips the game on its head. What makes this a great Metroidvania is how that new moveset changes everything. You're still exploring the same world as Shovel Knight, but because Plague Knight moves differently, he can string together a bunch of bomb jumps to fly through the air or dash through enemies. You'll find new ways to tackle old areas. There are secrets you couldn't reach before, hidden paths that are only open to his unique explosion-fueled jumps, and even some levels get new sections designed just for his abilities. It really makes you rethink every jump and every enemy encounter. Plague Knight's story is pretty fun too. He's this weird, obsessed alchemist who wants to make the ultimate potion, and he's not exactly the good guy, which is a nice change of pace. He's got his own hub world, his own quirky characters, and a whole system for mixing and matching different bomb parts to create tons of unique attack combos. It's super satisfying to figure out which bomb types work best for different situations or for taking down bosses. Environmental Station Alpha. Okay, so if you're the kind of gamer who enjoys exploring weird, creepy places and getting a good challenge, this one might just grab you. So you wake up on this space station that's basically a big maze full of all kinds of strange creatures and traps. The place feels abandoned but dangerous, like something bad happened here. Your job is to explore every nook and cranny, find cool upgrades, and unlock new paths to keep moving forward. The map is massive and kinda confusing at first, so yeah, you'll get lost. But that's the point. The game wants you to figure things out on your own, find hidden secrets, and slowly piece the story together without spoon-feeding you. What really hits home with me is how tight the controls feel. This game doesn't hold your hand. You gotta be precise with every jump and dodge because the enemies hit hard and the platforming can be tricky. It's one of those games where if you slip up, you might die and have to try again. But when you finally get through a tough section, it feels super rewarding, like you earned it. And the bosses are, well, they're brutal, but fair, to be honest. You can't just button mash your way through. You need to watch their moves, learn their patterns, and come up with a plan. They push you to get better and stay focused, which makes beating them feel awesome. It's not just about fast fingers, it's about thinking and timing. The Messenger. You play as a ninja messenger who's gotta deliver a secret scroll to save your village. Sounds basic, right? But here's the twist. The game starts out all retro 8-bit style. Super simple, kinda like those classic NES games we grew up with. Then, bam, halfway through, it flips into 16-bit with way more detailed graphics and bigger, more complex levels. It's like going from a black and white comic to full color in a blink. That switch feels fresh and keeps the game exciting. The gameplay is tight. You run, jump, slash enemies, and dodge traps, but what really stands out is how smoothly everything moves. The controls never feel sticky or slow. You gotta be quick and precise, but it never feels unfair. Plus, the game loves to mess with you by throwing in clever level designs, hidden paths, secret upgrades, and tricky platforming that keeps you on your toes. The humor in The Messenger is another big win. It's packed with funny moments and little jokes that break up the action, which is cool because sometimes games like this can get way too serious. The characters have personality and the writing doesn't take itself too seriously. You'll find yourself chuckling while still getting hooked on the story. Cave Story. You seriously can't skip Cave Story. This is, it's a piece of gaming history. It was made by just one guy, Daisuke Amaya or Pixel, over 5 years. And when it came out for free back in 2004, it pretty much showed everyone what an indie game could really be. It's got this charm and depth that a lot of big budget games still can't match. What makes Cave Story so special is its blend of everything. You've got this super tight platforming, exciting shooting action, and this really cool exploration that keeps you hooked. You play as this silent robot dude with amnesia who wakes up in a mysterious cave system on a floating island. You quickly get pulled into this whole big story about these cute rabbit-like creatures called Mimigas, a crazy doctor, and a war brewing. The story is surprisingly deep and kinda dark sometimes, but it's told in a really sweet way, with memorable characters you actually care about. As a Metroidvania, it nails that feeling of discovery. The entire floating island is one big interconnected map. You'll go through grassy areas, creepy labyrinths, sandy deserts, and even an active volcano. As you find new weapons and gain new abilities, you can go back to older spots and open up hidden paths, find secrets, or just explore more of the huge world. That whole aha moment when you figure out how to get to a place you saw hours ago, yeah, Cave Story is full of those. The combat feels really good too. You find a bunch of different weapons and each one plays differently. The cool part is, when you shoot enemies, they drop little energy triangles that power up your weapon. But if you get hit, your weapon actually loses power. So you're always trying to keep your weapons leveled up, which adds a really unique challenge to the fights. Plus, there are some pretty epic boss battles that will really test your skills. The Sundered. The first thing that'll hit you about Sundered is its incredible art style. It's got this hand-drawn, almost gothic look to it, and the animations are just gorgeous. But don't let the beauty fool you. The world itself is super eerie and unsettling. You play as Esh, a lone wanderer trapped in these dark, crumbling caverns that are full of ancient horrors. The atmosphere is thick with dread, and you'll constantly feel like something horrible is just around the corner. Now, as a Metroidvania, it delivers on the exploration. You're diving deep into these ancient ruins, unlocking new abilities that let you reach previously blocked paths, and slowly piecing together the lore of this twisted place. You'll get your double jumps, dashes, and other movement powers that are key to finding secrets and advancing. That core loop of getting stronger and opening up the map is definitely here. But here's where Sundered gets interesting and a bit different. While some major parts of the map are always the same, a lot of the smaller rooms and enemy layouts are actually randomized. So every time you go back to certain areas, they might feel a little bit different, which keeps things fresh but also unpredictable. And speaking of enemies, this game loves to throw hordes of them at you out of nowhere. It can get really intense, with dozens of creepy creatures swarming you at once, pushing your combat skills to the limit. There's also this cool corruption mechanic. As you defeat certain bosses, you can choose to either corrupt your abilities, making them more powerful but twisting your character's appearance, or resist the corruption, keeping your soul pure but potentially making the game harder. These choices actually affect the ending of the game, which is a neat touch and gives it some good replay value. Iconoclasts. So, Iconoclasts, man, this game is kind of one of those little surprises that you don't hear about much, but it's actually pretty cool. You play as Robin, who's basically a mechanic, but also can throw down when things get rough. The story starts off simple, but it doesn't stay that way. It gets way more interesting the deeper you go. Plus, the characters aren't just there to fill space. They actually feel real. Like, you get why they do what they do, and that's kind of rare in games like this. The gameplay? It's that classic Metroidvania stuff. You're running around, exploring, jumping, fighting enemies, and figuring out puzzles. But it's not too crazy or overwhelming. You gotta think a little, but it's never annoying or unfair. And the bosses? Oh yeah, they hit that sweet spot where they're tough, but not rage quit tough. What I really liked is that it's not super long, so you don't get bored or feel like it's dragging. The story wraps up pretty well, which is always a relief because you don't want a game that leaves you hanging. And Robin? She's got personality for days. Funny, smart, and definitely not some silent hero who just stands there. Blasphemous. You play as this dude called the Penitent One. He wears this really weird pointy helmet that looks like some twisted crown. He's on a mission in this world that's full of old religious stuff, but not in a boring way. It's more like a spooky nightmare mixed with old myths and stories from Spain. The game's world looks really detailed and kinda gross sometimes, but it's also really cool in how it tells a story just through the way it looks and feels. The gameplay is tough but fair. You gotta learn how to time your attacks and dodges just right, or you'll get hurt bad. It's not a game that holds your hand. You kinda have to figure things out yourself. There's a lot of exploring too, where you find new weapons, upgrades, and secrets hidden all over the place. That's one of the fun parts, seeing what crazy thing you find next. The bosses in Blasphemous are huge and really strange looking. They're not just some giant health bars to whack away at. Each boss feels like it belongs in this messed up world, with creepy designs that make you stop and say, what the heck is that? Fighting them takes skill and patience, and when you finally beat one, it feels awesome. Timespinner. It's one of those Metroidvania games that feels like a love letter to the old school classics, but with its own twist. So the story here is pretty cool. You play as this girl named Lunace, who's stuck in time because of some messed up evil empire that destroyed her home. Your main goal is to fix the timeline and get revenge. Time travel is a big part of the game. Like, you can jump back and forth between past and present to solve puzzles and figure out where to go next. It keeps things fresh and makes the world feel more alive and connected. Gameplay-wise, Timespinner is all about exploring, fighting, and upgrading your gear. The controls feel tight and smooth, which is super important for a game like this. You get a bunch of cool weapons and magic to mess around with, and the combat can get pretty fun and challenging without ever feeling unfair. One thing I like about Timespinner is that it's not just about fighting, it's also about thinking. The time travel mechanics add some neat puzzle elements that make you stop and plan your moves. It's not super hard, but it's enough to keep you hooked. Momodora, Reverie, Under the Moonlight. This game is kind of a hidden gem, but man does it deliver. It's got this super atmospheric, almost melancholic feel to it, combined with combat that's gonna make you work for every single victory. Right away, you'll notice the art style. It's got this really gorgeous, detailed pixel art that just pops. But don't let the beauty fool you. The world itself is pretty grim. You play as Kaho, a priestess on a pilgrimage to save her village from a spreading curse. You're exploring this ruined, haunted kingdom, and everything just feels oppressive and a little sad. The story isn't thrown in your face. You kind of piece it together from hints and the environment, which adds to the mystery. As a Metroidvania, it totally hits the mark. You're exploring this sprawling, interconnected world, gradually unlocking new abilities that help you reach previously inaccessible areas. Maybe it's a double jump that lets you get to higher ledges, or a special dash that lets you zoom through gaps. That classic feeling of opening up new paths and discovering hidden secrets is a huge part of the fun. You'll be backtracking, finding shortcuts, and slowly mapping out this cursed land. Now let's talk about the combat, because this is where Momodora gets its reputation. It's tough, like really tough. It takes a lot of inspiration from Souls-like games, so you're gonna be relying a lot on precise dodging and rolling to avoid enemy attacks. You've got your trusty maple leaf as a close range weapon, but also a bow for ranged attacks. And you'll find other items to help you out. Every enemy can hit hard, and the boss battles are particularly brutal. They'll test your reflexes and patience, but beating them feels incredibly rewarding. It's that kind of game where you die a bunch, but you'll learn something new each time. Owlboy. You play as Otis, a young owl person who can't fly very well, which is a big problem when you're an owl, right? He's a bit clumsy and quiet, but he's got a good heart. The story kicks off when sky pirates attack his village, and he ends up on this massive adventure to save his home and the whole floating world. The characters you meet along the way are awesome, and the story itself is really touching and well told. Now, what makes Owlboy unique as a Metroidvania is its core mechanic. Instead of just walking and jumping, you fly. And not only that, but you can carry your friends. Each friend has their own unique weapon or ability, so you'll be flying around with one buddy shooting, then swapping to another friend who might have a grappling hook or can destroy certain blocks. This whole idea of carrying your pals to solve puzzles, beat enemies, and get through areas is super clever and constantly makes you think in new ways. The world itself is this huge, interconnected set of floating islands and ancient ruins, all designed with some of the most gorgeous pixel art you've ever seen. Seriously, the animation is fluid, the backgrounds are lush, and every little detail just pops. As you progress and get new abilities or new friends with new abilities, you'll be able to access previously unreachable spots, find secrets, and open up new paths. That classic Metroidvania feeling of slowly uncovering a vast, intricate world is totally there, but with the added twist of flying around. Combat is a mix of shooting with your carried friends and dodging enemy attacks, and there are some really cool boss battles that test your flying and quick thinking skills. It's a game that balances platforming, puzzle solving, and action really well. Wings of Z. This game is no joke. It's hard as hell, and it doesn't care if you get frustrated or not. You play as V, who's this tough-ass angel warrior, and you're basically thrown into a world full of nasty, crazy bosses and messed up enemies. The whole point? Stop some evil shit that's ruining everything. The story's not some deep emotional journey or anything. It's just enough to give you a reason to keep fighting. Honestly, you're here for the gameplay and the insane boss battles. The controls are super freaking tight, and you're gonna need that because the game will kick your ass repeatedly. You will die. A lot. Like, if you're the kind of player who hates dying or getting stuck on one part, Wings of V will make you want to throw your controller through the wall. But here's the thing. Every time you die, you'll learn a bit more about the boss's moves or the tricky platform you just couldn't nail before. That's what keeps you coming back, even when you're screaming "fuck this" under your breath. Platforming is brutal too. You're dealing with spikes, moving platforms, and some seriously tight jumps that test your timing to the max. The bosses, man, they are the real stars of this shit show. Each one has their own weird, twisted attack patterns and bullshit tricks designed to make you rage. You can't just button mash your way through. You gotta think, plan, and react fast. It's like the game is daring you to get good. No hand-holding here. So yeah, expect to die, expect to get pissed off, but also expect to have a hell of a good time if you're up for the challenge. If you want a Metroidvania that doesn't hold your hand and throws you into the deep end with some seriously brutal fights, Wings of V is where it's at. Just be ready to swear a lot. SteamWorld Dig 2. So here's the deal. You play as Dorothy, this little robot girl who's trying to find her friend Rusty. You're digging down underground, mining all kinds of cool stuff like gems, ores, and all the shiny loot you can get your hands on. But it's not just digging for digging's sake. There's a bunch of secrets hidden down there, puzzles to solve, and even enemies lurking in the dark trying to mess with you. The game nails that feeling of discovery. Like, you start off just digging holes and grabbing some rocks, but then you unlock upgrades, new tools, better moves, stuff that lets you go deeper and find cooler stuff. It's super satisfying watching your little robot get stronger and more badass as you go. Plus, the map design is tight. You're always finding new paths, shortcuts, and cool hidden spots that make you want to keep going. Controls are smooth and simple, which is great because the game's all about flow. You're not gonna get stuck on some stupid control bullshit. It's just you, your pickaxe, and the thrill of digging deeper and deeper. Oh, and the game isn't super long, but it's paced just right, so you never get bored or feel like you're just grinding forever. Astalon, Tears of the Earth. The story's about three heroes, a warrior, an archer, and a wizard, who are trying to climb this giant, mysterious tower to save their village from a spreading curse. What's cool is that you get to play as all three of them. You can switch between them pretty much whenever you want at specific bonfires, or campfires in this case. Each character has their own unique skills. The fighter is tough and good in close combat, the archer can shoot arrows and hit things from far away, and the wizard can use magic to get to tricky spots or freeze enemies. Figuring out who to use for what challenge is a huge part of the fun. Now, as a Metroidvania, Astalon totally delivers on that exploration front. The tower is one massive, interconnected dungeon, absolutely packed with hidden passages, secret rooms, and branching paths. As you get deeper, you'll find keys, unlock shortcuts, and gain permanent upgrades for your characters that let you access new areas. That feeling of slowly mapping out a huge, dangerous place and finding new ways to get around is really satisfying. Here's the really neat twist. When you die in Astalon, you don't just get a game over. Instead, you get sent back to the start of the tower, but the progress you made exploring stays. And you can spend the orbs of life you collected to buy permanent upgrades for your characters or unlock new abilities. So dying is actually part of the progression. It makes those tough platforming sections and challenging enemy encounters feel less punishing because you know every attempt is getting you closer to being strong enough to push further. Ender Lilies, Quietus of the Nights. You play as Lily, a young priestess waking up in a ruined kingdom full of creepy monsters and dark magic. The world is all gloomy and sad, but there's this weird kind of beauty in the way the game looks and sounds. The music is haunting, like it really pulls you into the sadness of the place, but also gives you hope. It's not just background noise, it hits you right in the feels. The combat's pretty smooth for a 2D Metroidvania. You're not just button mashing, you gotta be smart, dodge attacks, and use your special spirit helpers to fight bosses and nasty nasty enemies. The spirits you summon aren't just for show. Each one's got its own style, and you can mix and match to find what fits your playstyle. It keeps the fights fresh and fun, even when the game gets tough. Exploration is a big deal here too. The map's all interconnected with shortcuts and hidden spots that make you want to keep poking around. Plus, the game throws in some cool puzzles and platforming challenges that aren't crazy hard, but keep you thinking. What I really love is how the story unfolds. It's not in your face. You gotta piece it together from what you find and hear. That kind of mystery vibe makes you want to stick around just to find out what the hell happened to this broken world and who Lily really is. Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom. Okay, so now in this one, you play as this kid who, thanks to a curse, gets turned into different animals. Each animal form isn't just for show, they actually change how you play. Like, one animal can jump way higher, another can shoot fire, and another can swim underwater better than the others. You gotta switch between these forms to solve puzzles, find hidden spots, and beat enemies. It's pretty clever because the game keeps pushing you to use all these abilities in creative ways. It's not just about fighting, but about thinking how to get through tricky parts. The world itself is a big deal here too. It's colorful and lively like a cartoon come to life. You'll be running through forests, dark caves, castles, and even weird magical lands. Every place feels different and has its own vibe. The art style is gorgeous. It's hand-drawn and detailed, which is kind of rare these days. Plus, the music fits perfectly. It's catchy but never annoying, and it sets the mood just right. And well, from what I've played, no frustrating moments where your character feels like they're stuck or won't do what you want. That's important in a game where timing your jumps and attacks matters. Boss fights in this game aren't just random obstacles. They're designed to test how well you're using your powers and thinking on your feet. Some bosses can be tough as hell, but beating them feels awesome. Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2. This game is awesome because it feels just like those classic Castlevania games from the NES era. You know, the really tough stage-based ones with that cool 8-bit look, but it's not just a copy. It adds some new twists that make it fresh and exciting. Right away, you'll see that classic pixel art style that just screams retro. It looks and sounds like something straight out of the late 80s or early 90s, but with smoother movements and some flashier effects that old consoles couldn't really do. You're still playing as Zangetsu, the Demon Slayer, but he's not alone this time. The really cool part about Curse of the Moon 2 is the character swapping. Just like in the first Curse of the Moon game, you start with Zangetsu, but as you go through the stages, you'll meet and team up with new characters. Each new friend has their own unique weapons and abilities. You've got Dominique, who uses a spear and can jump super high, Robert, who's a weak old guy but has a rifle and can even crawl into small spaces, and then there's Hachi, who's a corgi in a giant mech suit. Yeah, a corgi in a mech, and he's super strong, and can even turn invincible for a bit. You can switch between these characters on the fly, which means you're always trying to figure out which character is best for the situation. Maybe Zangetsu for raw power, Dominique for tricky jumps, Robert for long-range attacks, or Hachi to smash through everything. This character swapping is what gives the game its Metroidvania flavor, even though it's more about clearing stages than one giant open map. You'll often find different paths and levels that only certain characters can get to, hiding secrets or upgrades. The game also has some tough-as-nails platforming and boss fights, just like those old games, but it gives you options. If you want that super hard old-school challenge with enemy knockback and limited lives, you can play on Veteran mode. But if you just want to enjoy the action without ripping your hair out, there's a casual mode with unlimited retries and less punishment.